I'm the DPS supervisor for Sutter Lakeside. DPS took over for site safety and security as of 2017 for the Sutter system-wide. So I've been asked kindly by your group to come and speak a little bit about some policy. That policy being Code Silver. Everybody knows what Code Silver is? And how many kinds of Code Silver are there?
Hopefully none.
There's two, right? There's Code Silver, which could be an act or a threat with the weapon, or the second time, the more elevated, Code Silver active shooter, right? Unfortunately, here we are in the news, in the national media and headlines talking about all these situations, and this kind of came to DPS to help out with, have some learnings regarding active shooter policies and whatnot. We are not currently supporting like an active scenario-based training regarding this for some obvious reasons in there, you know. Everybody has different levels of involvement with these incidents nationwide. Personally, I was in Tulsa when the situation recently broke out back there. I was back there previously with my brother. My brother has some kidney problems. So he had been in that hospital the Friday before the incident took place. It was an isolated incident where somebody went into the situation there, had some lethal anger and took it out on staff and a patient and whatnot. 3 people felt the effects of that. And the response times were like 3 minutes or less. So I do look at a lot of different situations, have some knowledge base regarding that. My background's in law enforcement. If I haven't had you in my class for workplace violence, 34 years plus in law enforcement as a supervisor, sergeant, investigator, and other training roles as well. Finishing up in Sonoma County. So I work federal task force and did stuff that way too. So a little bit of training involvement. During the course of my career, I've locked down many locations as far as like things that boiled over into schools and larger scale events. Incidents that would, you know, that didn't start at the school, but right across the street and people fled or suspects ran through schools, or we stopped people and the bad people ran into the school and we had to lock things down. It became an active situation. So if you're not familiar with the policy, we do have a policy here. It's Sutter policy on active shooter, Code Silver. It's in policy stat. And in this, I'm not going to read the whole thing here for you, but there are 16 tips for safety involved in this policy. That at some point in time, maybe having a copy of this burned off of your group laying around probably be a good idea. Just as a reminder, a point of discussion. One of the things that we talk about during the workplace violence physical maneuvers class is just like situational awareness, knowing your environment, knowing your escape routes. Does the door lock a certain way? Do the hinges a certain way? If something happens right in front of you, how are you going to personally react? That's something that's a personal choice. A lot of these things are a personal choice. And part of my job in my training, the other class that I do, is personal emboldenment, a little bit of a command presence. I mean, at some point, we're either trying to strictly avoid the situation, which may be the best thing to do. You never know, right? If something breaks out, are you able to deal with it yourself, get some other people, talk about everybody's capabilities as a team, support each other, and maybe have a response to it? There's a lot of different things that are happening really fast, right? So we can't just think, oh gee, somebody's gonna come and rescue me. Well, hopefully that's the case, but it probably could be an extended period of time. Recently in the news, we've heard about the situation down in Texas, just terrible tragedy. Things are always constantly revolving and escalating and things like that. We know there's threats in society. We have to take people on face value. If they're telling you they're willing to threaten you or otherwise, you have to look at that, whether or not it meets the criteria for a crime, reportable to law enforcement. You know, is it an active threat against your person? Can they immediately carry it out? Do they have that capability? Now, that's kind of the criminal side of things. Outside of that, just people's observation behavior. Obviously, you're going to call security. If you need to escalate it right to law enforcement, 911, holy cow. My team is coming up here just to help out the observations and set the stage and help law enforcement come in to have access. When something tragic breaks out with that with weapons, I'm going to get the first law enforcement responder in. I'm going to throw my badge as it drops off, my badge and my keys, and give them access and point in the right direction. Get them going, go to that. Because as a law enforcement official, what we were trained a number of years ago, ever since Columbine, we rethought our training. And the training that kind of came out of all that was immediately go to the threat, okay? If you can, get the second responder with you and you have the armament capability, and as law enforcement, we would go to the threat. Now what that means for us here learning in this training is that when law enforcement comes, they're gonna be stepping over people that are potentially injured, things like that, to get to the threat, eliminate the threat, instead of stopping and, throwing out Band-Aids or helping people. Ain't gonna happen. They're gonna go straight to the threat, take care of the threat, then backtrack, peel the layers of the onion back their way out and assess, like we all do, the highest level of trauma, and get those people to help and bring in people to come in and get them the medical attention. So I'm kind of spinning this thing a little fast because I had my coffee, and that's probably a good thing. I got a short, I came across this. There's Sutter DPS, we're trying to get involved, and we're trying to authorize and become involved in kind of just a lockdown drill. Obviously, part of that is we don't want to elevate patients and staff. We want to talk about these things. We don't want to, test people without training you, right? So if we just, we're having a drill. Okay, great. A drill on what? I think I know what a code silver is. Let's talk about this, have a conversational, have some learning points so we understand where we can go to make things safe. You all have some decisions to make, and I've been questioned a couple times about, well, my mandate is to stay and protect my patients and things like that. I can't answer legal questions for you. I know that when it, so to speak, hits the fan, you're gonna make your own personal decisions about whether or not you're gonna save yourself, protect those that you can potentially, or extricate people that you can, versus just, potentially be eliminated from that and not be able to help at all, right? It's like when I used to teach my guys in law enforcement, slow down, you're driving fast, you're code 3. You don't want to be the first one to your own crash, right? You don't help anybody else if you don't show up, right? You gotta get there, you gotta be present, have your own capabilities, which we all have independent capabilities, right? So I'm gonna throw at you probably a 4-minute video. I'll turn the volume down. Are you guys good with that? Is that just, I don't know if this is a proper location, but
Yeah.
And this video was put out by the FBI a number of years ago, okay? So I'll just try to see if I can pull it up on my computer real quick here for you. I'll get my old man eyes out here if I can borrow that for a second. And like I said, I'm kind of spinning this through you guys real quick, but I will give you more chance for some questions here, which would probably be better off and suited for your department. And has anybody thought about these things? It's like, have you walked around? Okay, can I improvise? There's a window. Okay, can I take a chair? Am I capable of breaking that window out to get out? If you just flat had to get out, right? Things to think about, things we need to mill around, okay?
Now let's see, is that?
Yeah, I know, I never really thought of that.
You gotta be able to improvise
Yeah,
on
it opens.
the fly, right?
It opens, we
So-
can, how far does it open? We need to check that.
Yeah.
The one in the break room opens all the way up. I've seen Ann open it, like, without a screen open it, like, be able to get out. Yeah.
So, like, I'm editing right now a slideshow. It's pretty good, a lot of stats and things in that, but kind of the best catch out of all this that I got was the video was, it's a little hokey, but it brings apart some good information. One of which is this being the mantra, okay? Run, hide, and fight. Okay, those are things you think about right out. Okay, am I best if I run from the environment? Can I secrete myself? I can't, tear out a concrete wall to get out of the room, but can I conceal myself to a stable location, maybe lock the door behind, or when I do lock the door behind, barricade it, shut the lights off, kind of quiet down, just kind of hunker in for a little bit, and maybe the responders can get to you. Okay, so there's personal decisions. And then once you decide, man, this is happening right in front of me, you have to fight your way through it. You want to have that self-preservation in there to develop a little bit of a team plan. You guys all remember 9/11 when that flight went down toward, was it Pennsylvania? They went together collectively as a group, decided to take on the hijackers and make a difference and not let it get to its final destination. Man, they gave themselves a chance, maybe prolonged things, saved a bunch of lives. So they made a personal decision there to come together as a team and get on with that, right? So let me see if I can pull up our slide here. Should be here. Okay, slideshow, there we go. 10:30. While I'm scrambling here for my video, if you have a question, or have you guys had a chance to kind of look at the policy? Has that discussion come up amongst your group already? A little bit? Okay.
So do you think it's more of a personal choice? Like if we notice somebody is escalating and has a weapon,
Well,
is it
you know what we
best practice to do what?
Yeah, you know what we want to do too here is we want to use kind of the saying, if you see something, say something. Let something be investigated. don't be deterred by the fact that, you know, oh, it may or may not be something. Hey, we can ask people politely, hey, are you feeling okay today? Is everything okay? Can I help you out? And let somebody that has a little more experience get a read on person. And if it's flat is what you think it is, somebody comes into the place presenting themselves as armed or otherwise, well, you know what? It needs to get investigated. We need to follow through on those inner, you know, spiny hairs that stand up on the back of our neck and whatnot like that, right? That's probably the best idea. Sorry guys. Ooh. Oh yeah, here we go. So the biggest thing is, you know, from the stats that I'm seeing from the FBI right now, there have been several hospital atmosphere situations developed. The main stats that I'm seeing aren't involving hospitals, so to speak. There was a stabbing situation down in Los Angeles-based area, and I haven't reviewed all the final assessments on that, but it was a bad situation, and people need to step in and take some involvement in that. So here we go. This should be loading up here for us. So things can happen. The Tulsa situation, which was targeted because the guy was looking for pain medication. He had a spinal situation going on there, and he kind of went after the doctor that caused his injury or didn't medicate him enough. That was the background on that. But at any point, any time, like I explained to people in the workplace finance classes, we're the big demographic society is coming through here, right? We have like 400 something plus employees, largest employer in the county. We see all facets of the demographic society coming here. We have a jail close by. We got a bus stop out here. Just anybody could drive in and come skid into the parking lot. We don't know what they're bringing with them, right? That's when we need to kind of self-evaluate. I got it ready here for you. Like I said, it's probably about 4 minutes. Let me make sure I get the volume adjusted right and get you going here. And this video is called Run, Hide, and Fight. Let's see if I can bring it up.
Hi, can I get you started with drinks?
Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta take this.
We'll need a minute.
You can't be here and get in my face, man. In front of you.
Yeah.
Running makes you harder to hit and improves your chances of survival. Don't go up here.
Police, where is he?
By the bar, blue jeans, black shirt. Empty hands up, follow their instructions.
I'm in the direct line of fire if I head for either exit, but I've other options to help me survive. Guys, come on, in here. Go, go, go. Lock and barricade the door.
Both my exits are blocked by the shooter. I gotta stay hidden. I'm no victim. I'm ready for this.
He's applying direct pressure to the wound to stop the bleeding until we can find a tourniquet. In the meantime, turn off your phones and make a plan to defend yourself.
We have to fight to survive. If you control the weapon, you control the shooter. I'll go for the gun. You'll go for his arms. Martin will go for the head.
Where is he?
We got him right here!
Please, show me your hand!
Over here!
You can survive a mass shooting if you're prepared. Wherever you go, be aware of alternate exits. Quickly and cautiously evacuate in a direction away from the attacker. Don't hesitate. Seconds matter. Remember windows and emergency exits. Leave belongings behind. Keep your empty hands raised and clearly visible when exiting a building. Follow all instructions from the police. Don't stop until you're sure you've reached a safe location. Hide. If there is no safe escape route, find a good hiding place. Lock and barricade the door. Silence cell phones. Prepare a defense plan. Fight. Fight only as a last resort. Use available objects as improvised weapons. Use teamwork and surprise. A coordinated ambush can incapacitate an attacker. You're fighting for your life. Don't fight fair. Stop the bleed. A victim can die of uncontrolled blood loss in 5 minutes or less. Apply pressure or a tourniquet to control severe bleeding. Go to fbi.gov/survive to learn more.
So it's a lot of information there in 4 minutes, but I thought the video, you know, as dramatic as it was, it gave through some good information, you know, just kind of a lot of different things you could bring up. Mental mindset, be willing to control yourself, you know, don't take inventory during the middle of the incident, right? It's like, I mean, you guys are professionals for a long time. You gotta remain calm when things are traumatic in nature in front of you. Focus, have a little bit of a plan there, okay? Things we talk about, how to prepare and defend ourselves at some level. Exit points, good points there, you know, turn your phone ringer to vibrate, or otherwise, you know, you're gonna get inundated with phone calls. If you're able to break free, update, give the best information, description, that you're gonna be questioned on the phone when you call like a dispatch line, if you're on 911, description, you know, maybe type of weapon or otherwise involved, whether it be a knife or a firearm or whatever extent it would be. They're gonna wanna ask you a few questions in pretty rapid fashion. And remember that we speak a different language in responding local law enforcement too. Oh, he's over an ICU or FPC. Officers like, what does that mean to me, right? It's like, holy cow. That's why, like, part of my responsibilities is to back out, liaison with them, get them into a place of focus, and get them the access to get them where the problem's gonna be, okay? So, like I say, outside of that, in the video, I need some feedback from you all too, as far as like having this roundtable discussion. I think it's a great idea. It's kind of the direction I see things heading. I'm available on site. You know, I have my phone number, I have my business cards, I'll make available to you all. There's a lot going on with these situations. If you've been involved in a major trauma event, which unfortunately I've been involved in quite a few, yeah, it takes a toll on you, you know. Get your friends and loved ones to support you. Sutter provides the EAP services, some additional support for you. Ask a questions, call anonymously, what you gotta do to support yourself, feel safe, share the information. And like me personally, I was involved in investigations, or personally involved in the last 12 officer involved shootings in Sonoma County, the last part of my tenure there as a supervisor or otherwise. Things happen all hours of the night and this and that. And I've seen people react differently in different ways. So have your personal trial as far as like talk to your family about your job a little bit. But you don't tell them everything. I remember I used to come home after a hard day's work. I don't want to tell them everything. I don't want to relive it all. You know what I mean? Share a couple of fun stories and this and that, but have your plan is, you know, to invest in yourself and whatnot. If there's anything I can do, please reach out to me. Code Silver Lockdown. We're probably this Friday. I have a couple deputies from Lake County are going to come walk around the facility. They train active shooter, like scenario-based training. They did one a couple years ago down at the movie theater. I think one of my partners that has an office next to mine down in CIC. She was involved in part of search and rescue, so she volunteered to be part of that. Kind of cool. Give her a little more in-depth look at what's available to them and whatnot. So the 16 tips in here, quite a few of them are already explained in that video, just little basic things, you know, about your phone and whatnot, descriptions and all that. So review that with your group, have conversations, you know, what are your capacities? What are you willing to do? Well, I can do this and that, and okay, bam, I know this person's gonna do that. I know this person's more physically capable or can reach higher or whatever, you know. Just be thinking on your feet a little bit, and it's a fluid situation. Don't be static. You gotta be moving and adjusting to the situation. Creating distance, right, and finding your own capabilities. You guys have questions for me? I know this is real short and I started late, I apologize, but throw something at me. What do you got for me about your department, or what are we talking? You guys done fire drills, you've done other drills, I'm sure, for exit strategies and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think our department has a really bad location in the hospital as far as shooters and fires go. We've got both of
Although
our
we do
exits
have
are.
the locked door if we don't let them in, right? It's just,
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, is it, you know, at some level where I do an annual security risk assessment to the facility. I just did my first one back in like November, December, and it was all finalized. And so I had a couple gaps in some security things, you know, cameras and some other things I'm not going to go into in depth. But, you know, you got to look at kind of the stats, the crime stats that I observe nationally to our area. Our numbers are actually pretty good. I mean, we're not, you know, in the middle of the Bay Area, so to speak. We're a little removed. I talked to a kind of a Kaiser counterpart of mine within the last 2 weeks. He's a director of security for Kaiser in Vallejo. They have a sheriff, they have a police substation and an armory in the hospital. They have shields, they have a full-on tactical kind of plans for Swan thing. Well, you know what, they practice it because you know what? You wouldn't be spending the money on that if you weren't really using it, if there wasn't real big draw and need for that. For our location here, it's an awareness, it's training, knowing what can and can't happen. We plan and train as much as we can, but then again, I personally don't want to be a person that lives in fear. I want to embolden you when we're done talking and say, hey, there are some things we could do. We can take care of ourselves at some level, right? Stuff can fall out of the sky. The meteor can hit us at any given time, right? I get that, but we had to have a little bit of emboldenment here amongst our own team having these conversations. Bad location, yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. It's you know, there's things that, I don't know, do we want bars in the windows? We'll be able to escape out. I mean, there's certain layers. If you have an idea that you thought about, I want to hear it, because if I have an impact to escalate something up and try and push for funding on something, and a couple things I already have, like the 2 things that I'm working now is newer camera systems and door access systems. The door access systems here need to be a lot better, and so we are looking at that. I'm involved in a system-wide kind of an engineering discussion at a pretty high level as far as redoing some of our doors to the HDIT, the clickers, the beep, you walk through that way. So that's something for quicker access. That's one of the things that's being looked at, okay? So anyway, I'm here for a resource for y'all. I know you gotta go, it's pretty wrap up. I don't wanna take up too much of your time, but I do wanna thank y'all for having me up.
Yeah,
That's
thank
great.
you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.